Hello. I there's more satellite. And it's a clear day. So I'm here to look for green eyeballs. Uh so I don't know if anyone's gonna come and listen to this, but I figured I'd do the stream. And the past few times people liked it. And there honestly probably will not be too many clear days left this year. So you just gotta take advantage of them when they come, you know? Hello. Hi everybody. Uh Yeah, we're looking for green eyeballs again. Unfortunately, there will not be any images of Luhansk. Um, the image stops here. If you can't tell where we are, this is like Vuladar. So, uh, it's like here's Mariupol. Here's Berdiansk. Unfortunately, we can't view Berdiansk. There's a cloud. It's like the only cloud. The only cloud. So we can't look at that. But we can look at Uladar and west. So yeah, as soon as I find Uladar, I'm gonna start looking at it. Where am I? Uh, yeah, Avdiivka Uladar. Okay, here we are. Um, so yeah, there's no Luhansk, there's no Berdiansk. Unfortunately, well, Berdiansk is covered by the only cloud. But we can look at this. Okay, so I'm gonna make a compare, and we're gonna compare it to the other day, like 2 days ago, because we can do that. You have two green eyes, huh? Okay, so this is what we can do. We can compare to like 2 days ago. We can see how much nothing has changed. Okay, so I'm honestly not expecting any groundbreaking things in this imagery. But you never know. You know, you gotta look. You can't just make assumptions. We might even be able to see some stuff going on in the river. Yeah. So like here is just like a whole bunch of nothing. There's like we don't see any changes. Uh, there's like this fire got bigger, but that's just the grass fire. Actually, that's not even the grass fire. This is like the earth recovering from a grass fire that happened a while ago. So we can keep looking. Uh, yeah, I'm really not expecting too much, but there might be something that we find. I mean, there's always something. It's just sometimes it's more interesting than others, you know. Uh, so we can look over this kind of Novomilorska area. There's not too much going on. Whatever that fire was ended. Uh, so keep on trucking. There has been some action around Novodonetsk, but I don't know if it's enough for us to see. Yeah, it's not enough to see, but there has been some stuff. I've located some videos here. Uh, yeah, this is just the chill. Yeah, we're chilling. This is not a big deal. We're not taking it too seriously. There's not a presentation. There's not a message. It's just looking for green eyeballs, you know? We're just we're just farming some green eyeballs right now. So there's been a lot of airstrikes around Eurozhina today, or not today, but recently, and also a whole bunch of uh, TOS and other forms of artillery kind of in this general area. And I wonder if we can see that. Not really, but um, on the old map, uh, if we kind of look at this area, um, I did like a partial update today. But anyways, you see that there were all these TOS strikes the video came out yesterday. I don't know if it was literally yesterday, but there's been a ton of airstrikes in Eurozhina recently. Um, anyway, they're not consistent one day to the next, but there are a bunch of them. Hi. Yeah, yesterday was a more of a message. See, we can even see the airstrikes. Like this is a new airstrike right here. You can see it. Yeah, those two. Um, I wonder if I mapped these two. Let's see if I mapped them. I'm just curious. Cause I'm gonna maybe I mapped them. Let's see how accurate the mapping was. Let's just see. Uh, okay, so let's throw this into the map and see um if any of these days line up. Uh, Not really, no. Well, that one's close. Um, yeah, I don't know. Maybe that bomb just wasn't videoed, or maybe what I don't think those were wrong though. Maybe they were. I don't know, but that's a new bomb for sure. Uh, Russia drops a lot of like 500 kilogram bombs here. Anyways, it's not really new information. We know that's getting bombed, so it's not really green eyeball material. Okay, so over here, not so much. Um, Still not sure what's going on around here. I guess my baseline assumption is nothing is going on, but the Ukrainian general staff keeps saying something is going on, and that is interesting. Um, Starting to think this is the location of a video I couldn't find yesterday, and I was really frustrated because I couldn't find it. Maybe it's right there. I don't think so though. I don't think that's. No, it's not. It's not there. Okay. Uh, Anyways, moving on. Uh, yeah, there's just a whole bunch of not too much change, to be honest. Uh, I'm expecting some sort of shelling here and there, but there's always shelling in those two places. Yeah, you can see it. You can see shelling uh, right along this tree line, but it's nothing that we didn't already know. Um, and some of it is shadows hitting the ground differently because it's a slightly different time of day or slightly different weather or whatever. So not much, not much to look at. Now, over here, there's been some rumors of action of some sort. Uh, I'm very skeptical. There's been like no news of like any sort of attack on either side in this general area, like in months, like in so many months, like since I literally can't remember when. Like it would have to be like last May or something. I can't even remember the last time there were attacks here. Um, I genuinely thought that if Ukraine was going to do an offensive, it would be from here. Um, but that didn't happen. Uh, I I thought I thought the Ukrainian offensive in the south would be stacking up on like these. Well, that was Russian held. I thought they would stack up on kind of this angle here, on like these four towns and push southwest. That's what I thought Ukraine was going to do. And then we saw them kind of pushing down this river, or, well, they're up here. They're pushing down this river. And I was like, oh boy, it's happening. It's happening. They're gonna attack here. And then they attacked over there, and I was very sad. Man. But I really thought this would be the place because I thought that this was just a great opportunity for Ukraine, and obviously they disagree. But there's been nothing, like nothing. happening here. There's just been shelling. There's been some rumors about stuff happening right here too. And do we see anything? I doubt it. Uh, I don't see anything. There's no changes that I can see. That doesn't mean nothing's happening. It just means not enough is happening for us to see it. So whatever it is, it's not super significant because I don't even see light shelling. I see like literally nothing. So, anyways, if any of you have like a question or if you just want to say something, you can just say stuff. Thank you, Ozzy. Thank you. Uh, yeah. Well, the reason the reason I thought Ukraine would attack here is because from what I understand, this area isn't as heavily mined, and there aren't as many defenses. And I thought if you were going to launch a giant offensive, you would go for the place that isn't as heavily mined. That was my logic. Was don't charge through the biggest minefield, maybe charge through a smaller minefield. Was my logic, but Ukraine decided to go through the biggest of the biggest minefields, and yeah, I don't know how well that worked out. I don't think it worked very well, but here we are. Um, um, yeah, I'm not seeing much. I don't know if any of you are seeing anything, but I'm not seeing much. But that's okay. I wasn't expecting much, to be honest. A lot of the combat here has lessened, especially where I started, because usually I barely even look at this area because I just know nothing's happening here. But this time I'm just kind of going through a little bit slower because there's not as much map to look at today, so may as well just look at this area too, even though we know nothing's going to happen here because nothing ever happens here. Um, see, um, Marina is another place that I thought Ukraine might attack at some point, and I don't really think they can get much further because like around here, like south of Mirna, it's very strong defenses, very strong. But I really don't think up here is very strong. I really thought Ukraine would kind of take Myrna and maybe take Draj and Yanka and kind of level off this front line just to push further away from Hulepola or Holepuli or but I can never say it. I think it's Hulepule. Anyway, so I thought they would kind of just push further away from Hulepule and it's kind of like set up like on this line, but they never did. And similarly, I thought that they would get Marfapil, which I think they kind of sort of tried to attack Marfapil, but they didn't really want to commit, because there was a point where Ukraine was kind of clearing out here, and you can see the shelling. They're clearing out this position to the west, and they were clearing out here, and I think Ukraine was like around here-ish and like over here, and they were clearing out here, and they were pushing Russia out of this main field here, and they're also clearing out here. I think their goal was to kind of capture these tree lines to the west of Marfapil, and then maybe launch an assault on the town, but it just never got anywhere. Just they never moved up. Um, no, I don't use Sentinel one. I just use this. I just use the thing we're looking at because it works for my purposes, except for when it's cloudy. When it's not cloudy, I mean, I don't know what to do when it's cloudy. So, but when it's fine, the weather's cool. The weather's great right now. It's gonna be Who knows how many nice days there'll be for the rest of the year? It probably won't be that many. We probably count it on one hand, honestly. Last winter there were like 4 sunny days basically. They all had like a month and a half between each one. They were like never consecutive. Maybe this winter will be better. So now we're getting to the area of the offensive. Obviously, um, Russia has been pretty heavily shelling, roughly around here, trying to stop Ukrainian advances. And it's like at this point, everything is so destroyed, it's hard to even see the shelling. You sort of can, but Ukraine, from from what I've heard, I haven't really seen much evidence to support it, but from what I've heard, Ukraine tried to attack down this road again to get like a foothold in the northern or the western part of Verbova, and I don't think it worked out. This forested area, Ukraine has been attacking it with drones, so I changed this to a Russian-held little area. Um, but other than that, I don't know, dude. Helicopter strikes, fewer of them? No, I don't think so. I don't think there's fewer. I wonder what this is on fire. It's probably a vehicle, to be honest. It's probably a vehicle on fire. Who knows what it was? Maybe we'll find out one day. Maybe there'll be a video of whatever that is. Probably a vehicle, a Ukrainian vehicle. Or, I don't know what else it could be. Um, it seems that there's a pretty good shelling here. Um, like you can sort of see it here and along this. If I'll flick back and forth, maybe you'll see it. Do you see these like dark dots here? Uh, you flick back and forth, it's a little bit more obvious. So yeah, there does seem to be shelling along this road. Does seem a vehicle on fire. Um, Now, how far south does it go? That's about it. Kind of goes to here. It's like from there up. It's like this area is getting shelled. So yeah, there's been some pretty big Russian counterattacks in this general area. On my map, I've mapped it, and I've talked about it in prior streams. So this attack here, unfortunately, the Russian forces here are incredibly competent. Unfortunately, they actually know what they're doing. It's the Russian assaults here are probably some of the most professional assaults I've seen in the entire war from either side. These were very professional assaults. These guys know what they're doing, and that's unfortunate. Doesn't make me happy seeing that, but it's the truth. And they have taken some ground back. The grounds they've taken was a gray area that Ukraine never really controlled. Ukraine controls right here, this tree line, which I believe. Let me just steal these coordinates, put it into the other map because I think that area is what we were just looking at getting shelled. To be honest, yeah, no, was it? No. Okay, so it's right here. Is this getting shelled? Yeah, it is kind of. You can see it a little bit, but yeah, this is the area of that counterattack right here, and it was very professionally done, very professional. Well, you can say they're yellow, but the real color, I'll tell you the real color. It's fig. It's like, what's it called? Young fig. Um, I think that's the color. Is young fig. You know what? This is super interesting. This shelling here is interesting. I think I'm gonna make this a green eyeball because this is actually genuinely interesting. I wasn't expecting to see it. I'm not even exactly sure where I am right now. I'm gonna put it on the other map in a second. As soon as I write down the coordinates. Okay, let's see. Let's put the coordinates in the map and see where we are. Oh, it's right there. Wow, that's fascinating. That is genuinely interesting. Were you expecting to see shelling here? I wasn't. That's genuinely interesting. Figs are a really good fruit. They're a great fruit. They're a great snack. They're good, fresh, and dried. Man, the shelling. Whose shelling do you think this is? Do you think it's Russian or do you think it's Ukrainian? Because if that's Russian shelling, that's because they did. People have been saying that Ukraine advanced about a kilometer near Verbova, and this would be about a kilometer more, really. So that's fascinating. So this is so yeah, that's really interesting. Um, I guess I could also mark here. This was also mildly interesting. So it's notable. Okay. Um, let's keep going. Go towards Nova Prokopivka, right? So uh it's over here. Do we see anything? Not really. I don't really see much. It just kind of looks the same as always. Um, yeah, man, look at all of these like bombs that Russia's dropped. There's so many of them. All these like craters. Um, just wild. Imagine living in this town. Because like a few months ago, the town was doing okay, and now it's erased. It's just gone. Uh, yeah, not too much to see there. Maybe over in Novopokrovka, there's something, right? Maybe in Novopokrovka up here, there's something. Because the Ukraine has been advancing in the Novopokrovka area. Oh yeah, for sure. They've been advancing in the Novopokrovka area. You can see there's definitely shelling here for sure. This is pretty heavy shelling or moderate shelling really. But it's like focused south of these trees. It's like right here. You see it? Um, yeah. So it's like here and there. It's interesting because it's not really on the tree line. It's like around the trees. It's interesting. So I'm gonna mark that as a green eyeball. Interesting. I do think this is likely Ukrainian shelling. Okay. Okay. So that's that. Moving up. Um, so Ukraine has been advancing here. They have made some advances. Some decent advances. We can look at the kind of the timeline. Where am I? Lost. Okay, here I am. The timeline here. Um, so yeah, they've been kind of steadily advancing. So this is let's just go forward in time. That was going backwards in time. Then it kind of looks like they're going backwards, huh? But and when you go forwards in time, they've been steadily advancing here, and it's been interesting. So what we were just looking at is like right here, I think. Um, and I do think that's likely Ukrainian shelling. I do think that they're probably, if they haven't already, they're probably going to clear out this part here, and probably try to level off this whole um, this whole flank. I am genuinely shocked, like baffled that they haven't taken Novopokrovka yet. Uh, it's baffling to me. I can't understand it. They've been doing they've been getting kind of more active, bombing the back of it, with airstrikes and artillery of various sorts. They've been kind of shelling this kind of tree line back here. These kind of tree lines, these two tree lines, they seem to be an anchor for the town. Where if they lost them, I think it would be very bad for the town itself. So Russia seems to be really focusing on defending these two tree lines up here, and then probably this tree line is similar for the south. And obviously, this road is important, and I'm sure they have other paths back here. We might even be able to see them. Let's look. Um, like there might, I'm sure there's some sort of path that they're taking that's not the road. I don't see one. I don't see an obvious one. Uh, this could be it right here. This kind of faint line. Yeah, it's definitely it because you can see it kind of go up. So this is probably the path that they're taking to supply the town. Uh, I imagine it kind of goes up. Does it ever go west again? I don't really see it going west. I do see it going east. You can kind of see it kind of wrap around that way. Anyway, they're supplying the town somehow. Not exactly sure how, but anyways, but these tree lines up here have been getting hit pretty hard by Ukrainian shelling recently. Um, I saw that the image that came out of Berdiansk. I saw that image. Um, yeah, it looks like there are five helicopters that may have been damaged. Maybe. I mean, it's hard to tell. It looks like Russia removed the damaged equipment like as quickly as possible. Um, which they don't always do. I don't know if you've seen the images of like Melitopol where uh after the airfield was bombed by Gimlers, um there was a helicopter, a Russian helicopter flew over the airfield, and a guy was like sticking out the side of the helicopter filming as they were flying, and you could see all the helicopters burned uh, down to nothing in the airfield. So Russia doesn't always remove destroyed airframes, but in this case, it appears they did, which is interesting. Very interesting why they would do that. Maybe they're embarrassed. Um, who knows? I've not seen. I have not seen Luhansk. I've not even. I don't even know where in Luhansk got hit. What is this? Is this a crater? No, it's just a house. Yeah. So I don't know anything about Luhansk. Um, what do you mean by Kherson? I don't know what you mean by was it worse than Kherson? You mean Chornobaivka or whatever that place is called? Cherno. I think it's yeah, Chernobaivka. I think that's the name of it. Yeah, that place was shellacked. They lost a bunch of helicopters there. It's kind of funny. Anyways, so I don't really see anything here. Let's look at Kopani. No, Kopani. Yeah, Kopani. Let's look at Kopani. Maybe there's something interesting here. Who knows? Probably not. Not really. Not so far. So moving on up. This is kind of where the action has been. So let's see. Let's see if there's been a difference over the past 3 days. Not so much, not really. There's like some chilling there, not really super interesting. This is that area where this was a little controversial. People were upset that I mentioned it. Yeah, the airfield near Kherson was Chernobyevka, I think. Beivka, I don't know. It's something like that. uh, they kept hitting it. They hit it what like 17 times or something. It was like double digits. They kept getting it. Um, Russia shells it too, except Russia doesn't shell the airfield. They just shell the civilians. So that's the difference. So, but they have been hitting it repeatedly recently. Unfortunately, I think a few civilians were killed there the other day, if I remember right. So I can't look at the image from 3 days ago anymore because it ended. We needed another image. What about the fifth? Does the fifth do it? Nope. Um, third. Yes. Okay. We can compare to the third now. Okay. Let's keep on going, on trucking to the west. Eventually, we're gonna get to the Dnieper River, and then we're gonna go down and see what we can see on the islands. Maybe there are giant pontoon bridges. Maybe there's just like one like 5 kilometer wide pontoon bridge, and Chuck is standing on it. What do you think? We'll find out soon. Uh, oh boy, load. It's not loading. Weird. All right, well, we're gonna have to be patient. Let it load. So, so yeah, there's I have not updated my map very much today. I kind of like put like a few things now that I just pushed an update just because I felt like it. There was a Ukrainian boat destroyed here. I think it was actually a jet ski or something. And then there's a Ukrainian reconnaissance were operating here, and there were some strikes and shelling there. And there's a video that people say is current, and they also claim it was Ukrainian that was like right here. I'm not convinced it's new or it was Ukrainian, but people are also claiming that all this area is held by Ukraine. Not entirely convinced of that. Not convinced. It's just I don't know, guys. I think there's a lot of hype. There's a lot of hype. There's a lot of psyops. Here's that town and the airfield that was shelled so frequently. You can see what Russia had built here. It's absolutely wild. This is all their vehicles were hiding here. Um, yeah, this is what Ukraine was trying to deal with. All of these vehicles and all these what they called revetments, whatever. Um, this is why it's, it's like there's more revetments than there are not revetments. It's just a pile of revet. Anyway, yeah, this was just pure defenses basically, and it wasn't just there either. Like it was like along these roads had defenses, and also it's like sorry, I had to sneeze. Right here, into the town, um, Russia was like kind of interspersed with part of this town here. Um, You see they kind of were into these buildings, but they even went like more into the town where they were kind of hiding here too. So um, yeah, this was the whole Chernobyl the area. Um, Recently, Russia has been shelling this town. They've also been shelling Stepanivka, specifically this area. Now, what is basically this area, like this here, is a hospital. That's a hospital. This is a hospital. That's a hospital. I think this is a hospital. And that's a hospital. And I think that's a hospital. So this whole area is like hospital. And Russia's just been like continuously shelling it with grads and things like that. I posted a video of this the other day. In fact, they've also been doing airstrikes. Anyways, where's that video? It's here. I know it's here. I just can't remember what day it was. Was it the 10th? Man, what day was that? I'm so confused. I don't. Was it really that long ago? Man, time flies. Wild. Maybe, did I just forget to push the update to the map? That could have also been it. I mean, I just forgot to push the update. Uh, Anyways, yeah, they've been shelling that town. It's really sad. I made a tweet about it. I thought I mapped it, but apparently I didn't. Um, Anyway, let's see if that loaded yet. Nope. Why are you not loading? Load. Okay, I have an idea. Give me a second. I'm gonna use the other software. The other software might work better. I think this software's tired. It's like, I don't want it anymore. I'm done. Okay. There's multiple software to do this with. Now I just have to oh darn it. I can't use the other software. Well, I could. I could use the other software, maybe. Let's see. Just bear with me for a second. It's gonna take. I was hoping I could just log in, but I can't. I have to do like the security shit. Uh, so I have to jump through all my security. Oh, jumping through security. Um, Security. Okay, I did the security. Sorry, that was okay, let's see if it works. Just have to go to today, the 18th, and it loaded. Oh, did it? Yes. Hooray. Okay, now I just have to add this to my compare, and then go to the third, and add that to compare, and start comparing. Let's go. Sorry about that. At least one of the software works. we probably, yeah, we probably DDoSed it again. Uh, that's why it's nice having multiple softwares that do the same thing. So when one breaks, we could go to the other one. Okay, so Piatichatki, here we go. Um, I follow people who fight here, and they told me, or they didn't tell me, but they said, well, let's pretend they told me. They, They said, let's just pretend. I'm gonna pretend they told me, just very, very specifically me and nobody else, that there's a big battle here today, and Ukraine repelled it with the power of Depicum. They Depicummed the Russians until they gave up and ran away. That's basically what they said. Um, Also, they also said something else that I want to read to you because it's actually, I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was pretty cool to read. So let me find the exact number because they listed how many things they destroyed yesterday or the day before. Let me find it. Uh, okay, I found it. So this was October 16th. On October 16th, they destroyed two tanks, two BMPs, one BMD, and two armored cars. It's pretty good, right? They are one artillery battery. So there's just one battery and they destroyed two tanks, two BMPs, one BMD, and two armored cars in one day. It's a pretty good day, I think. I think that's a pretty good day. Uh, but yeah, they when they repelled the Russian attack today, and they said they were like, "Without artillery, you're nothing." uh, I think it was pretty funny. Uh, yeah, let's see if there's any really changes here. Um, where those guys shoot, um, they post videos from time to time, and basically all the videos that we have are from like right here, just south of Piatikatki. They use M777s. These guys have M777s. Here, I can show you a video of them shooting an M777. They posted this today. Um, this is them. This is their M777. So yeah, they they also shoot like almost exclusively to pick them. Here, I'll show you. I'll show you their ammo. This is um this is their ammo. So this shell is to pick 'em, that shell's to pick 'em, that shell's to pick 'em, to pick 'em. These are all to pick 'em, to pick 'em, to pick 'em. I think this is HE. This one's HE, but I think all the rest are to pick 'em. That's HE, HE, HE. Um, these are all to pick 'em. You get even show more. It's like these are HE. I think these are HE, and I think those are HE. Not sure. But this is to pick 'em. To pick 'em. The Pickums. Look at all the Pickums. They're just shooting cluster munitions at people. All they do. They said a few days ago they took out 8 um D30s. So here's another video from them. This is them. So that's their video. So yeah. Anyways, they basically shoot this area around Piatikatki. Anyways, I don't see any changes here. I don't see changes. It all looks the same to me. Yeah, and I can't share that I can't share that group because it's a private group. They don't I don't even know how I got in it, to be honest. Like I literally don't know how I got in the group. I was just in it one day. Okay. I guess I'm in it now. I'm not complaining. Okay, so that's that. That's basically a front line. Now we're going to man, look at the look at the reservoir. That's crazy. Um, so I guess I'm gonna go see if we can see anything along. Oh man, oh that's so lame. Oh, it's so lame. It stopped. It stopped right before, dude. We can't see Chuck's pontoon. Oh man, couldn't it go like another few kilometers to the west? That's lame. Okay, so there's another thing we can look at. We can look at the north, um, around Kupiansk, assuming it's not too cloudy. Okay, the weather seems fine. I wonder what's going on up here. Oop. Yeah, the other weather from like a week ago or 2 weeks ago was not fine. So we need to find a better comparison day. Was the 15th? Oh, the 15th was beautiful up here. Great. Okay. Add it to compare and get rid of the third. Okay, so now we're down to the 15th and the 18th. Okay, so I don't see any differences. Okay, so around Liman Pershi, um, yeah, a private satellite. Yeah, good luck. Good luck, like raising the like $10 million to buy one. Yeah, that we have no idea where those six attackums went. We have no clue. Um, Believe me, there's a lot of people looking for them. Not enough loaves were sacrificed. Did you see the other day that Belarus sent Russia a giant convoy of loaf? It was the giant convoy of loaf with a few like SUVs mixed in. There's so many loaf. There's not too much going on here. Today's not really a green eyeball day. I'll tell you that. Uh, Honestly, there obviously there's always going to be more things to see the bigger the time difference of between images. And the last image, oh boy, that's a lot. This is something that's interesting, right? This is a lot of like MRL shelling. So we can mark that down. It's like maybe there is something. Maybe we were just looking in all the wrong places. You know? Uh, yeah. So Belarus, they're sending their Russian friends a whole bunch of loaf. Um, there's also been a lot of Russian fundraising for loaf. Loaf is like unironically, loaf is really becoming kind of the backbone of Russian logistics. It's so funny to me.
Are loafs the new drones?
They are,
I'll
man.
be writing an article on it soon.
Dude, how many lopes does it take to run an entire logistics chain? I mean, we have all sorts of lopes now. We have artillery loafs. We have hospital loafs. We have ammo loafs. What can't a loaf do?
Still haven't seen a fuel one yet. That'll be really important soon.
We'll have one loaf to carry all of the missiles and another loaf to carry all of the fuel, and they'll just drive around, fueling and arming helicopters.
Yeah, if we see a loaf farp, that'll really be a sign that Russia's got it out.
How you doing, CJ?
Well, another day of Ukraine having attacked them, so we're all kind of waiting here to see.
Have you seen anything about those six that we don't know what?
Did we? So I've seen three separate launch videos. One had two, one had three, and one had six. Were some of them like duplicate angles of the same launches?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I think the only sort of bad news for people that really want to see the destruction, and hopefully you already covered the destruction at Berdiansk, which, yeah, I mean, it's a little bit too hard to say, obviously, with any certainty, but it's at least nine smoking piles of helicopters,
You
and
see nine?
also eight or nine. Yeah, but again, there was also some on the ground that hadn't left, and so that is a little bit interesting because they could be damaged somewhat. It would, yeah, I wouldn't put money on exactly the status of all of them on top of the air defenses, but unfortunately, these attackants have a very long range. 160 kilometers or whatnot. So the problem for people is going to be, maybe Ukraine is using them to attack very specific, Iskander or air defense sites all throughout Luhansk and Donetsk. And while I know you are the all-seeing eye, Andrew, there is a chance that maybe you don't know where one of those Iskanders is, and no one really does except for the Russians and Ukrainians. So some of that stuff, and especially since it's the airburst version with cluster munitions, it would be kind of hard to find it going in reverse. You'd have to comb through every square inch of the country. So there's doesn't mean it was successful, doesn't mean it was not successful, but unfortunately, unless it's, a known area like a giant airfield, we might not exactly know how it's going.
I will state that speaking of Iskanders, there was apparently an Iskander attack today in Sumy that I have not heard anyone talk about. Um, and I find that weird. I find it very disturbing when there's a missile strike and nobody talks about it.
Wasn't there also Shaheds on Sumi today too?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. And Zaporizhia got absolutely wrecked by S-300, I think. But Sumi, I believe, has been hit by um, by Iskanders 2 days in a row, and I haven't heard anyone talk about either of them. And I don't like it when I don't talk about it. It worries me.
Is that the assumption that it hit something of military value then?
Yeah, when they don't talk about it, it usually means something very bad happened.
Well, all the more reason to get more patriots there and try and uh, try and stop them. Do we know if it was the K model or the M model?
I have no idea.
Well, there's the if it was a few today and a few yesterday, that's legitimately all they can make in a month unless they've been stockpiling. So it is pretty devastating, and they are pretty good missiles, but they are not around in large quantities, thankfully.
Yeah. So I have a question. Do you pick to save the old image of an area if no new one hits? Uh, Basically, the way this works is that there is an image. Um, so there there's an image on average every 2.5 days. So it's like it's 2 days and then 3 days. So you can pick any of those images from basically anywhere in time and create a compare list the way that I'm doing. And then once you have the compare list, you can compare any two dates. So what I'm doing is I'm comparing today to 3 days ago. You can compare any dates you want. You can compare it to 5 years ago if you wanted to. But yeah, there's a today I have not read um the region the official governor reports yet today. I haven't read them. Because mostly because I saw what happened in Zaporizhia and it was depressing and I didn't want to go read all of the Zaporizhia governor reports and stuff because it would just be really depressing. I'm just kind of saving it for later, I guess. So there's a lot of those reports I usually go through. I haven't gone through yet today. So there's like a whole bunch that I don't know about because I haven't read it yet, but I will in like an hour or two. So I'm just typing in these coordinates because this is a mildly interesting MRL shelling here near Yehidna and Ivanivka, where Russia is trying to attack Ivanivka, even though they've made no progress over the course of months of trying to attack. Not very impressive. It amazes me how little progress Russia can make given such continuous attacking over such long periods of time in such small areas. It's a it makes me wonder why they even bother doing the attacks. Like if you're doing an attack so tiny that you can't even move half a kilometer, why even bother? Why are you getting your guys killed? I don't get it. Is it really just recon? Just recon by combat? Like why can you not send up a drone to look at something at half a kilometer away? I don't. I just they lose so many guys doing it. I just don't get it. Like
Classic recon by fire.
in like Novoselivska, they lost literally an entire battalion doing recon. Like, what is even the point of losing a battalion that way?
Well, you would hope so. The other battalions learn where all the enemy is and exploit that information.
Well, what happened is that they lost an entire battalion. They rotated in a new battalion. They did the same thing, and they lost that battalion. And then they rotated another battalion, and they did the same thing, and they lost the battalion. And then they had to move the entire brigade out and bring an entire new brigade in.
Well, maybe that brigade, the next one, knows where everyone is.
Just keep going. To be fair, they did eventually capture Novoselivska, so I guess it worked, right?
I think I was looking at some imagery earlier today. It had shown that Russia had advanced a total of about 450 meters on the southern axis for Avdiivka. Is that about right? Just under half a kilometer.
Um, I haven't measured exactly, but I kind of think it's more than that. It's not that far though. It's less than 2 kilometers. is I don't know. I guess I could measure what my map says.
And it's also on a pretty thin axis, right? And it's about where they made it to last time for the Avdiivka assault that they eventually retreated from.
Yeah, they have not advanced further than they've been before. Yeah, I think that they've gone like a kilometer. I think about 1 kilometer is about fair. Um, but it's like 1 kilometer deep and like maybe a kilometer and a half wide.
Okay, so girthy, but it's over a pretty flat terrain, right? So
Yeah,
it's gonna be hard.
it's very very flat. And in order to advance, they basically nuked all of the trees, so they have no cover on perfectly flat ground. And they have enemies on all three sides.
I don't know. Sounds like they're winning at this 40 chess.
Yep. Uh, yeah, and the one place they have advanced is it's the one place where they aimed all their artillery. Basically, they because I've gone through the imagery of this whole Avdiivka area, and there was exactly one spot where they like focused all their fire, and that is the only spot they advanced. All the other places they failed.
Well, where's the rest of their artillery? Shouldn't they be flatting out a bunch of other areas? Like, I guess that's what I don't really get. Like, they must have saved some ammo for this. Are there any other deeper strikes? Any other red icons where they're really, exploiting this slight gain?
Not that I see, no. There were uh, there were some missile strikes, but the like one-off missile strikes, like who cares? I don't even really know what the missile was. Like it may have been an Iskander or I don't even know. But it's just one-off missile strikes isn't going to accomplish much. And there were a few areas of like moderately concentrated um, artillery fire, and I assume that those areas were where Ukraine had their artillery, but there was only like two of them, and it looked like there may have been at most 100 artillery shells in each spot. Maybe not even that many. I honestly don't understand what their artillery was doing. Because they were saying that there are 200 guns shooting continuously, and I was expecting to see like a lot of damage. But then when I looked at it, I was like, there's like none. There's like,
That's what they did in Kupiansk, right? They were able to math a decent amount of rounds, and you could sort of tell by the shelling it was actually pretty substantial. But this doesn't seem to be anywhere like that.
no. Novomikhailivka had enormous amounts of shelling, but Avdiivka did not. It was very moderate, and all of the shelling that I could tell appears to be more Ukrainian shelling and not Russian. Because it was the shelling was to the on the Russian side of where Russia was advancing towards. So it looked like it was Ukraine trying to stop the advance and not Russia like shooting where they were attacking. Do you know what I mean? Like, because if Russia were shooting where they were attacking, then like every single shell landed short, basically, like all of them.
Maybe they didn't have the correct weights in there, you know?
Maybe, maybe, maybe all of their shells. You know what? Maybe this is it. Maybe whoever's packing, producing the shells in the factory, they're saying our guys they need better shells. Let's put an extra 2 kilograms of explosive in every shell. Maybe that's it. That's why they all weigh 2.5 kilograms too much.
Hey, that's 10% more explosives. That's going to be 10% better, right?
We figured it out. Yeah. So it, it's just that I mean, I can't really see shelling in towns. It's like it's too hard to see it. Um, it's because I don't really have the resolution to see shelling inside of a town. I can see it in the field pretty easily, but so I can't really tell how much Avdiivka city was shelled. It could have been absolutely rocked, the city itself. Um, but the area where they were attacking definitely was not. It just wasn't. Which is weird.
Was there any part in the last Avdiivka attempt from Russia where they just decided to stop going around it and go straight for the town? Like, I guess I'm wondering if we're going to see like a Bakhmut style. They're going to just try and force it block by block. Like, I guess I know that Avdiivka Ukrainian positions have been prepared for a decade, so that would obviously not be super smart. But I wonder if they're just going to be like, we're willing to take massive casualties, but we're going to do this in a frontal way. Is that possible at all?
Well, I have news for you. Um, that's basically what they're doing right now. Apparently, I don't know for sure, but they have advanced and taken a several positions south of Avdiivka. They've reached the highway that goes around the city, and they've crossed it, and then they're now entering the forested area south of Avdiivka. They're getting closer to the residential areas of the city. Now, they're not doing this with terribly large numbers. The video that I saw was a single BMP full of infantry. So, not too much. It's like a squad, basically. Um, but yeah, they have been advancing on the city itself, going through pretty dense defenses to get there. Now, the numbers involved are very small, and as a result, I believe if Ukraine wanted to, they could probably counterattack and take these positions back. I don't know if that's high on their priority list. They might be more content with defending this forest, exhausting the Russians and then taking back those positions later. But it does appear that Russia is just trying to, there's the baseball phrase, going straight for the monkey, uh, straight into Avdiivka. Now, this isn't the first time they've done this. They've tried going straight into Avdiivka multiple times, and it never ended well. But I this forest is it's not just a forest. It's very heavily defended. I'm pretty sure there's all sorts of concrete structures in there. I'm sure there's underground stuff in there. There's probably all sorts of tunnels and stuff. It's a non-trivial to attack this place. It's probably the last place you would ever want to attack. Uh, yeah, it's probably like on par with like attacking some of those islands in like the Pacific. It's probably not that different with the amount of just prepared defenses and whatnot.
Well, I guess. Well, look, I don't know why I'm asking you, but you have been looking at this closer. But it's an artillery question, I guess. Avdiivka's been shelled this entire time. I mean, it's been shelled even during the ceasefire periods and all the way back to 2014. I guess has there. It would take a massive amount of rounds. It would take hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of rounds to clear. I mean, I'm looking at it now. It's not a small wood line by any stretch, but I guess I wonder why they wouldn't just pepper it until it becomes a little bit easier to clear through. But maybe it's just now a situation where they're just not going to have 100,000 spare rounds to do something like that.
Well, I can tell you that they have been peppering it, and I have been noting this over time. They have been shooting this forest. I'm gonna try to find a date where I have an image of the forest. I think that yeah. Uh, they have been shelling it pretty regularly, and I think they've been dropping bombs on it because there's these big like holes in the trees where like I don't know like a dozen trees were exploded all at once. So they have been hitting it. It just this is a rather large number of trees, and I'm pretty certain there's a lot of concrete structures there under the trees.
No,
'Cause,
that makes sense.
Ukraine has had a very long time to prepare. They've been preparing to defend Avdiivka for 10 years. So and this is the part that they prepared to defend the most. So this is like probably one of the most heavily defended areas in the whole country, and I'm sure they've planned for every toy Russia has that they've planned around it somehow, whether it's bombs or toss or whatever. Yeah, I would not want to attack this place. Not head on anyway. It sounds like you're just gonna chew through your infantry. I think even if you shelled everything away, I don't think it'll even make a difference. Like,
Well, if you shell everything away, I mean, things become easier to spot with drones and more affected by artillery. But you have the opposite problem of now the machine guns that are in there and whatnot can much more easily shoot further. So it's a two-way street for sure.
yeah, I mean, look at Mariinka. Mariinka has been shelled to nothing, and Russia hasn't moved an inch. So it didn't help them at all. In fact, it probably made it harder.
Nope, that's definitely an urban warfare trend as per the U.S. Army Urban Warfare Planners Course. The more you rubblize an area, the easier it becomes to defend in a lot of different ways. Obviously, it becomes harder to live in, and it becomes harder to sustain troops, but it certainly becomes much more difficult to attack.
Yeah, there's some. I'm looking here. There's some interesting shelling south of Nadia, which is Nadia is where Russia is attacking currently. It is south of Novoselivska, south of Kupiansk, north of Kremena. So there's shelling south of this town around this forest here, and it looks like MRL to me. It look rather large, like not grads. It looks like bigger than the grad. Uh, oh, Ireland's here. Hi, Ireland. I'll share my screen in case you want to look at it.
Hi guys, I was looking at the stream earlier, but I wanted to ask CJ about something because there's a lot of talk about unverified the reports of crossings of the Dnieper, and I think if you have time to just remind people how much of a difficult and logistics heavy operation it is to sustain a crossing over time, because I think people don't understand.
Well, I don't know. I mean, if ISW, Chuck, Rob Lee, Mike Kaufman are all aligned on something, it becomes harder and harder to refute what's going on, I guess. But
And Constantine.
and oh, okay, Constantine too. Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, this
I,
is the thing.
I didn't want to refute it. I just wanted to remind people, you know.
Oh, well, it's a controversial thing for some people for some reason. But look, here's the thing: the videos that have been shown, unless Andrew's found some more, of people, across the river, the Ukrainians that have made it over, are all infantry, and by that I mean they're all on foot. And so, as you know, Erland, the logistical and supply requirements for a single person are quite low, almost exponentially lower than vehicles or artillery or anything else. So, of course, as we know, Ukraine has crossed, many times, thousands of times with people, and then maybe occasionally something a little bit heavier, but not often. So they have depots on the islands. Probably they have boats stashed away. They're probably working with people, hopefully on the other side. They can do a lot on foot. The real issue is people on foot are vulnerable, of course, to the sky. And so that's why it was so interesting. And Andrew pointed out numerous times in Aleshki, all of the Russian failed attempts to dislodge what looked like to be just a single platoon of Ukrainians. They dropped what looked to be hundreds of airdrop bombs. They put Iskanders on them, thousands of artillery rounds, and they could not get this just small group of Ukrainians to leave. Now, according to the reports, it's apparently a lot more Ukrainians that have come over. I mean, I've seen anywhere between 2 and 4 brigades. Now, I mean, people, that would be 10,000 people if it was 4 brigades. We've seen videos of a couple squads, unless I've missed something. But that becomes a lot harder to stop once more people get over. I would assume, just based on what we've seen so far, it's probably a bigger crossing than normal, but nothing like armor and whatnot. But really the Russian plan, I think, based on all of the crying they've done on Telegram, was basically we'll have warning if the Ukrainians cross the forth. And they've been complaining that this is going to happen all week. They've been saying it's about to happen, it's about to happen, it's about to happen. And it might have. But, basically what they were hoping for and really planning on was, well, they don't really have a lot of troops to move around. They do have some, but it's hard to get up to the river between the flooding and the shelling. It's not easily accessible. So people aren't really going to save the day for them. It's going to be helicopters. I mean, this has been said tons and tons of times that the Russian helicopters are going to be the thing that prevents Ukraine crossing in the forth. So, you can just look to what just happened. Some number of Russian helicopters were taken out, and probably they're all moving to different positions. Even if it was only 4 or 5 destroyed, if Russia is smart and they learned what attackams can do, they're going to be just dispersing them and trying to figure out how to keep them alive. Now that they are all sort of mostly in range. So now this sort of key asset, which was really they were counting on to help them, is not really as readily available currently as it was 2 or 3 days ago. So I think that's why, if this is all true, of course, this is why Ukraine attacked then. And then all it takes is this sort of lull in Russian helicopter activity for Ukraine to bring over some very small short range air defense systems. And now, by the time Russia has figured it all out, which they will eventually, it'll be a completely different situation they're flying into than it was last week.
Yeah, I appreciate the fact that the infantry definitely has a less impact on logistics. It's just baffling to me that a report from Cryboy releases a handful of analysts to believe what we have been talking about for a long time as doable, but something that would require really a lot of work and dedication if it will be sustained over time.
Yeah. A lot of those analysts, they wanted to believe it anyway. It was like but they've been kind of hoping or wishing against. So it was easy to convince them. I don't think you had to twist their arm.
Yeah. So what I just wonder is, what does Ukraine see as what they need to achieve as a minimum in order to stay and to then reinforce further, maybe with some smaller amounts of um, fire units like mortars or even light artillery, um, in order to actually defend these positions over time and potentially actually creating a bridgehead for a major crossing, which I would be super happy if they achieved that. I think that would be one of the best opportunities to actually gain a significant amount of ground somewhere along the front lines. So yeah.
Well, if I could just indulge myself in Andrew's stream graciously, I would just say people are really concerned about the bridgehead because you were in the military, but a lot of these people on Twitter and other places have been in the military, so they kind of think through the NATO style terrain focused objectives. Right, the most important thing is securing the space, the airspace, the cyberspace, the space, the ground space, the sea space, all that, or domains, or however you want to describe it. But there is more to the NATO doctrine than just that, and it's enemy focused. And this is what I think Ukraine is doing. It's not about creating a physical bridge across the river. It's about creating such an unfavorable condition for the Russians that they just cannot really operate against them. And by that I mean, they're okay with sending, as we saw previously, a couple hundred people over at a time if it really kind of, quote, messes with the Russians. If it forces them in a situation where now they have to respond to every incursion, and each time they do it, the Ukrainians are learning. I mean, it's the same thing why they were just taking pot shots at the Antonovsky Bridge, right? They probably had enough munitions to do it all at once, but by slowly but surely forcing Russians to make a pontoon bridge, then hitting the pontoon bridge, then using other sites, and then hitting those sites. I mean, it was, yes, you could say Russians escaped the right bank alive, but it was a lot more costly than it probably had to be. So all that's to say, I think I wouldn't worry so much about a physical breachhead. I'd be looking at how are the Russians responding? Are they able to do their Telegram airstrikes? If not, what are they doing instead? Are they moving up artillery? Well, they don't really have a lot of extra artillery in Zaporizhzhia to pull from. And so now, that's going to really affect what's going on in this other area. So we'll wait and see. But unless Andrew has some videos that it's more than a couple squads, I'm somewhat skeptical how big it is.
I have seen maybe 10 guys in a jet ski and a boat.
So 4 brigades.
That sounds like it.
Yeah, I mean, if I was Ukraine, I would want to make it seem much bigger than it was, because that would pull more Russians in. Especially if it's successful, it's more of an IO win. Like, I think it's a great idea. I just don't think. I think people are so focused on when are they going to start bringing artillery over? When are they going to start bringing tanks over? I mean, Andrew will tell you that area on the left bank is a mess. It's swamped. It's destroyed roads. It's not somewhere you really want to operate out of. So I think Ukraine is okay with not putting a bunch of people over right now. They'd much rather force Russia into these areas where, as we saw tens, if not hundreds of times, they drive a single BMP up the road, from Alevsky to the Antonovsky Bridge, and they just get blown up either by something on, the near side of the river or the far side of the river. And I think Ukraine is just fine with that.
You know what they've been doing recently? They've been driving T-90Ms and just getting them blown up. It's just amazing. Why would you drive a T-90M into that swamp just to get blown up? They've done it like 3 times in the past month.
And that's the thing. If Ukraine can make this sort of a political battle of wills to contest the river, that's perfect, because now, they're going to force Russia in a situation where they have to attack into a really shitty area for not much gain. And if the real goal here is attrition, which again people think is crazy because Russia has so much stuff, over time that can have some huge effects.
Yeah. I'm just not sure how much stuff they have, to be honest. They have a lot of stuff now, but they're gonna go from having a lot of stuff to having no stuff real fast, because they're mortgaging their future uh, as a military, well, and as a country, but they they don't really have a long term plan. They only have a short term plan, a short to medium term. I think like I don't think Russia has any concept of what they're going to be doing in 2025. I'm not sure they're going to have vehicles. I'm not sure how their artillery is going to work. Like, are they going to be out of barrels? Are they going to be out of SPGs? I just, it's kind of like they're planning for this long war, but they're only planning for it in terms of ammo and men and nothing else. But all the other stuff kind of matters. So I'm not sure what. I'm not
Yeah.
really sure what their plan is.
And
long term.
I don't even know if it's really in terms of ammo, because yes, they've gotten some North Korean ammo, which, as we know, Russians are complaining about, and we've seen videos of them trying to use it. And we could argue that it's probably as bad, if not worse, than the Russian ammo, which all has different weights. But I mean, I was so surprised that in 2 years of doing this thing, they had gone from 1.8 million to only 2 million rounds. I mean, they fired 10 million the first year. Like, if they want to fight that way, which again, it's not like a statement on whether it's the right or wrong way to fight, but if they want to fight a 10 million round a year war, then they can't be making two. And if you say, well, what if other countries get involved? Well, I can promise you, North Korea has a lot of ammo, but they're not going to give 20 million artillery rounds to Russia and have nothing left for themselves. And then Russia's still in the same situation where if it goes any longer than that, then they're out, and that's not going to happen anyway. So I agree. They're trying to fight a style of war now that is not going to be sustainable. It's not to say they can't be powerful and they can't be a gigantic threat, but and I know as much as people like to complain that the U.S. and other countries are moving slowly, but I feel more confident in how Ukraine is going to look in 2 years than I do about how Russia is.
The projections for the end of next year, for how much armor each side will have, they're pretty much saying Ukraine's going to have more armor, and I just find it. First, I think I agree with the projections. Just watching how things are unfolding, and second, I just find it objectively funny. Have a Russian army, this Soviet army without armor, when their army is made on armor and artillery. What happens when you lose your armor, and what happens when you lose your artillery?
The only thing I will say on that is, because you're completely right, is they are increasing their drone production substantially. And this is kind of the variable here, is that if they were to, let's just say, maybe they've decided, either rightfully or wrongfully, that they're going to fight this way for now, and then in a year or so, they're really going to be a drone-heavy army. Well, I don't think we're at the point in time where that's going to make up for those key things like armor and artillery. And I'm trying not to be too biased here, but I mean, just listen to the Artie Green interviews or other Ukrainians. Like, Lancets are still a problem, but it's not going to prevent them from taking ground. And that's kind of the big thing here, is it's not going to be enough of a factor. And we haven't even really considered, as you mentioned, what does the Russian army look like without as much armor and artillery? If it has more drones, that's an interesting combo that I think it could lend itself well in a very quick fight, but not.
We lost CJ. I have a question for CJ too. Let's see if he comes back.
That's when he normally jumps out.
I have a question for him. It's a very controversial question. Well, not controversial, but I think it's controversial in the U.S. Army. but not outside of it. See if he comes back. There. I have just made all my green eyeballs. Yeah, I don't really understand what Russia's gonna be like when they run out of artillery. Like when they run out of barrels. What's gonna happen? Do they just give up? Do they surrender? Take your ball and go home? But anyways, my question for CJ is when okay, so if Russia runs out of artillery and they become drone dependent, is that the point at which the United States will finally give Ukraine electronic warfare stuff?
I can't speak for the US, but that's definitely something that the Russians should fear. That Ukraine either gets like the real stuff in the sphere of electronic warfare from NATO countries, or that they manage to get an in-house production of not just the capacity of certain EW systems, but rather the amount as well needed. I think Ukraine has the possibility and ability to build some of this stuff themselves, and they certainly have the technical knowledge about it. But I don't know if they are able to build enough of the really, really high tech stuff. I don't know that.
Yeah, I think it just takes time to develop. They're fully capable of doing it. They have everything you need. They have. I think it just takes time. So maybe we'll start to see stuff like that rolling out. It's not. That is definitely not something they're gonna like go on television or whatever and be like, "Hey, by the way, we're developing this specific type of electronic warfare." I don't think we're never gonna see that. It's gonna show up one day and no one's gonna talk about it. But uh, I just know that the United States is not giving its best electronic warfare. It is one of the things that the United States refuses to do, just like it used to refuse to give ATACMS, and then they did. So maybe when Russia loses their artillery, maybe when they lose their tanks and they become basically an infantry and drone army with some ATGMs and stuff, maybe that's when they will throw their electronic warfare out there, and then you could ground all those drones, and then Russia will be absolutely sunk. They will have nothing. You just go home and cry at that point, right?
Yeah, but so EW systems, as you probably understand, is a lot more sensitive than 1990s tech,
Yeah.
especially with most modern EW stuff. And I'm not sure though if you need like the most advanced stuff to take down the FPV drones and or even other drones. I don't think you need nearly the most advanced stuff. What you do
Maybe
need,
you need 1990s tech.
yeah. But, so what you do need though is you need the control over the your own footprint in the radio frequency spectrums, right? And Ukraine definitely does not have control over their own footprint. And I think that's actually maybe one of the biggest problems they have fighting this. You know, as well, Andrew, that there's a lot of different radios out there, and most of them are not provided by the military.
Yeah, no. I would imagine very, very few are provided by the military. At least as the proportion of the whole, it's a very small number. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't mean that you can't have control over the frequency footprint, but what happens is that well, you can certainly take all the Motorola's and ICOMs and that are in use and also put those under administration. So that is possible, but I don't think Ukraine has the capacity, with manpower to actually administrate that. And you need a centralized system. You need a centralized system for frequency allocation and all the different, crypto stuff.
Yeah.
Like this needs to be completely centralized, not like brigade level centralized. This needs to be an institute that decides each single frequency for every single platoon in the whole country. That's the only way you can assure you have a complete picture of what frequencies you are using. And that's when EW is probably going to be closer to, you're never going to get it 100% effective, but you're going to get closer to that.
Mm.
Was that,
I have there's
did you understand?
yes, there's a question here. I have no idea what the answer is. I think this is more of a question for John, but John's not here. The question is, how long until Ukraine can develop its own long range guidance for missiles? I have no idea.
I'm going to write John and then we're going to see.
Yeah, something on par with what America has. I think American stuff is very advanced, so I have no idea. Although maybe it doesn't need to be as good as American stuff. Maybe it just needs to be, maybe 90% as good, or maybe 80% as good is enough. I don't know. You don't need to make the best missile in the world. You just have to make one that's just good enough, right?
I don't know anything about this, but I'm just assuming that if you have a guidance, like a GPS, INS guidance package that works, that's probably, going to be more or less precise. Anyways, I don't know. I don't know this stuff.
Yeah. I imagine.
But if it works,
the things that matter is like being able to maneuver without losing accuracy and things like that.
yeah, I'm guessing that. So like, yeah, so like G forces and centrifugal forces and all that stuff matters, also for the components.
This
Not
is
just
definitely a John question.
Oh yes.
Anyways, these are all the little green eyeballs I found today. A lot of them are MRL. A lot of them are in the Kupiansk area. A lot of them are around these two towns, Orlianska and Yehidna. So yeah, I don't really know what this really means. This one here is in supposedly Russian controlled territory, so that's interesting. That's getting shelled by MLR, and they appear to be large MRL, not grads, bigger than grads. And also just north of that is also getting pretty shelled. So that's interesting. Something to keep an eyeball on. And we also saw this shelling here near Serhivka, south of Nadia. So this was again MRL shelling, probably Russian shelling. Probably all this MRL is Russian shelling, because I don't really think Ukraine does much of the MRL, of the big ones. I don't think they really have that many. What would it be, like an Aragon or a Sparch or a Toss? Those are like your options. Ukraine doesn't I don't think they really have that much of that sort of ammo. There were a few missile strikes. I think these are missile strikes. Not really sure. But 2 of them are there. Those were interesting. Noted.
You're forgetting one thing, Andrew.
Yep.
The loaf, the
Loaf.
loaf artillery.
Yeah, the artillery. Yeah, it could be that.
Yeah.
Those were shooting 80 millimeter rockets off of a loaf. And it also, I don't know if this is true, but the caption said that the rockets were handmade.
But the rockets were handmade?
Yeah, that's what it said. The rockets are handmade. I don't know if that's actually true, but that's what I said. It may have meant the rocket launcher was handmade, but it did say the rockets were handmade.
Oh, it's confirmed. Hamas is working with Russia.
Yeah. So yeah, and we had these 3 green eyeballs next to Verbova. Already talked about all 3 of them. The one had the burning vehicle next to it. And yeah, there was this last these 2 MRLs or maybe missile strikes or maybe even bombs here near Kopani and Nesteryanka and Nova Andriivka. So those are all the interesting things I found today. So that's the green eyeball stream, I guess. I guess we're not going to find out about the electronic warfare or about missile guidance today. Oh well, maybe next time. So thank you for anyone who came and found it interesting and listened and whatever. See you on Friday, I guess. What day is it? I mean, is today Thursday? Oh, today's Wednesday. Okay, I'll be back on Friday. Goodbye.